Recap from Episode 3. In the last episode, Sarah uncovered her great-grandmother's journal, revealing the existence of an ancient pact made to keep a malevolent force at bay. She also encountered a shadowy figure in the living room after the mysterious whispers intensified. With the protective barriers seemingly broken, Sarah is left to face the terrifying consequences of disturbing the balance within the house. Episode 4. The Gathering Storm. The darkness pressed against Sarah like a suffocating blanket as she stood in the shattered remains of the living room. Her breaths came in shallow gasps, her heart still pounding from the encounter with the shadowy figure. Every nerve in her body screamed for her to run, to flee the house and never return, but something deeper kept her rooted to the spot, an instinct that told her there was nowhere to run. This force was tied to her family, to the estate itself, and it wouldn't let her go easily. She knelt beside the broken portrait, carefully picking up the pieces of glass. Beneath the frame was a letter, tucked neatly behind the canvas. She hadn't noticed it before. Her hands shook as she unfolded the brittle paper, her eyes scanning the words written in a hurried scrawl. "Evelyn," the letter began, "I fear we can no longer hold them back. Elijah has gone to the heart of the storm, but even he cannot keep them at bay much longer. The key is not enough. You must find the source, or all will be lost. The shadows will consume everything if we fail." The letter was unsigned, but Sarah had a sinking feeling it was written by someone close to her great-grandmother during the final days of whatever struggle they had endured. Her gaze drifted to the phrase, "the heart of the storm." It echoed the warning from the diary, the key, the heart, the shadows. It all pointed to a central point in the house, or perhaps beneath it. Suddenly, the air around her grew cold again. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, and she felt the unmistakable presence of something or someone watching her. "Sarah," a voice whispered in her ear. It was the same voice from the basement, Elijah's voice. It was closer now, almost intimate, as if the speaker was just behind her. She whipped around, but the room was empty. Her heart raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. If Elijah was trying to help her, then perhaps the key was connected to this heart of the storm. She needed to find the source of the shadows and break the pact before the echoes claimed her just as they had consumed her ancestors. Sarah's thoughts turned to the basement again. It seemed to be the focal point of everything strange that had been happening. Gripping the key she had found earlier, she made her way back down the stairs, every creak and groan of the old house making her flinch. As she descended, the whispers began again, low, insistent, surrounding her from all sides. But this time she recognized some of the words: heart, source, storm, Elijah. It was as if the voices were guiding her. The basement was darker than before, an almost tangible blackness that seemed to swallow the light from her flashlight. She kept the beam steady as she moved deeper into the room, feeling the presence of something ancient and powerful all around her. The stone slab that had shifted before remained open, and the chest still lay where she had left it. But now there was something new, a faint pulsing light emanating from beneath the chest. With trembling hands, Sarah pushed the heavy object aside, revealing a trapdoor hidden in the floor. The light was seeping through the cracks, casting eerie shadows across the walls. She hesitated for a moment, fear clawing at her stomach. This was it. The heart of the storm. Whatever lay beneath that trapdoor was the source of the darkness that had haunted her family for generations. Taking a deep breath, she lifted the trapdoor, revealing a narrow set of stone stairs leading down into the earth. The pulsing light grew stronger, casting long, flickering shadows as she descended. The air became colder with each step, and the whispers grew louder, more distinct. At the bottom of the stairs, Sarah found herself in a small, circular chamber. In the center of the room stood an ancient stone altar, covered in strange, glowing symbols. The light was emanating from a large crystal embedded in the center of the altar, its surface cracked and pulsing with an unnatural energy. The whispers were deafening now, a cacophony of voices all speaking at once, but amid the chaos she could hear one voice clearly, Elijah's. "The pact is broken. You must restore the balance. Only the blood of the family can seal the heart." Sarah's breath hitched as the meaning of the words sank in. The pact her ancestors had made had involved a sacrifice, one that had been avoided or broken over the years. The shadows had been held at bay by the strength of the family's bloodline, but now that the balance had been disturbed, the echoes were free to roam. She looked down at her hand, the key still clutched in her palm. The answer was in her blood, her family's blood. But what was she meant to do? The light from the crystal flickered, and the shadows in the room began to shift, growing darker and more solid. They moved toward her, reaching out with claw-like fingers. The air grew thick with their presence, suffocating and cold. "Hurry, Sarah," Elijah's voice urged, "before it's too late." With trembling hands, Sarah stepped toward the altar. The crystal pulsed rhythmically, its cracks widening as the energy within it flared. She placed the key on the altar and, without fully understanding why, pricked her finger on the jagged edge of the crystal. A single drop of blood fell onto the glowing stone. The moment the blood touched the crystal, the chamber erupted with light. The whispers stopped, replaced by a deafening silence that pressed against Sarah's ears. The shadows recoiled, retreating back into the walls as if burned by the light. The crystal flared one final time, and then, with a soft crack, it shattered into pieces, the light fading into nothingness. Sarah stumbled back, her vision swimming. The chamber was still now, quiet, empty, and dark. The shadows were gone, the whispers silenced. The heart of the storm had been sealed once again. Breathing heavily, Sarah collapsed against the wall, her mind racing. She had done it. She had restored the balance. But at what cost? What had her family been protecting all these years, and why had they allowed the echoes to linger for so long? As the adrenaline began to fade, Sarah realized that this wasn't the end. The estate was still tied to the echoes, to the shadows. She had only delayed their return. The true source of the darkness remained hidden, buried beneath layers of history and secrets, and she was the only one who could uncover the truth. As Sarah stood to leave the chamber, she heard a soft voice echoing from the walls. "This is only the beginning."